Sofia had always been the quiet one in the family, the one who kept to herself, the one who stayed in the background at every family event. Her sister Emma, on the other hand, was the complete opposite, loud, outgoing, and always the center of attention. It wasn't that Sofia minded. She never craved the spotlight, never needed it. She was content with her own space, her own life. But she never imagined that one day at one of Emma's parties, she would be thrust into the middle of a drama she couldn't escape. It all started the moment she walked into Emma's birthday party. The house was packed, music blaring, people chatting and laughing. Sofia was used to these gatherings, even if they made her a little uneasy. She had always felt like an outsider in her own family, never quite measuring up to the expectations set by Emma and their parents. But that day, she was determined to just blend in, enjoy the evening, and not cause any ripples. But that was before the necklace. Sofia had barely stepped into the living room when her mother pulled her aside, her face filled with concern. "Sofia, have you seen Emma's necklace? The one she got from her boyfriend last week?" Sofia paused, confused. "No, why?" "It's gone," her mother said, her voice tinged with panic. "She's upset, and she's convinced it's been stolen. She's looking for it everywhere." Sofia's stomach dropped. She had no idea where it was or who might have taken it. But in that moment, a sinking feeling washed over her. She had always been the easy target. Quiet, introverted, and often ignored. Until something went wrong. And that's when people like Emma and her friends would look at her like she was the problem. The one who always seemed to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Minutes later, Emma stormed into the room, her eyes wild with frustration. "Has anyone seen my necklace?" she demanded, her voice rising. "I know someone took it. It's gone, and I'm not letting this go." Sofia froze, instinctively stepping back into the shadows, hoping she wouldn't be noticed. But that wasn't an option. Emma's eyes locked onto her. "Sofia, where's my necklace?" Emma's voice was sharp, accusatory. "I know you're the only one who hasn't been around here all night." Sofia felt her chest tighten. She opened her mouth to speak, but the words wouldn't come. She wasn't sure what was happening, but she knew this wasn't right. She hadn't taken anything. She was just here, trying to enjoy the evening. But as always, it seemed like Emma was determined to make her the culprit. "Are you seriously accusing me of stealing your necklace?" Sofia finally managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not accusing you," Emma snapped. "I'm just saying you were the last one near the living room. And you know what, Sofia? It wouldn't surprise me. You've always had a way of disappearing when things go wrong." The words stung. Sofia had grown used to Emma's cutting remarks, the way she could twist anything to make Sofia feel small, unimportant. But this was different. Accusing her of theft in front of everyone, in front of their family and friends, it was more than she could bear. "Enough, Emma," their mother said, stepping in. "We'll figure this out. Sofia, you didn't take the necklace, did you?" Sofia shook her head, feeling tears welling up in her eyes. "No, I didn't take it. I don't know what happened to it, but I didn't touch it." Emma scoffed. "Of course you didn't. You never do anything but hide in the background, don't you? You never take responsibility for anything." Sofia's heart raced as she tried to find the strength to speak up. But before she could say anything else, Emma stormed off, leaving Sofia standing there, feeling more isolated than ever. She was the scapegoat, the one who was always blamed, always pushed aside. She was used to it, but tonight it hurt more than usual. The party went on, but Sofia couldn't bring herself to enjoy it. She felt like everyone was watching her, whispering behind her back. The weight of the accusation hung over her like a cloud, suffocating her. She had always felt like she didn't belong, but now it seemed like even her family was turning on her. As the night wore on, Sofia retreated to the backyard, away from the noise, away from the tension. She needed space to think, to breathe, to figure out how to deal with this mess. But just as she was about to sit down, her phone buzzed. It was a text from her best friend, Claire. "Hey, I heard about the necklace thing," Claire's message read. "I don't know what happened, but I'm sure you didn't take it. Just hold on, okay? I'll figure this out." Sofia stared at the screen, her heart swelling with a sense of relief. Someone believed her, someone who knew her. She wasn't alone in this. The party raged on inside, but Sofia stood there in the cool air, feeling a sense of clarity she hadn't had all night. She wasn't going to let Emma's accusation define her. Sofia had always been the quiet one in the family, the one who kept to herself, the one who stayed in the background at every family event. Her sister Emma, on the other hand, was the complete opposite, loud, outgoing, and always the center of attention. It wasn't that Sofia minded. She never craved the spotlight, never needed it. She was content with her own space, her own life. But she never imagined that one day at one of Emma's parties, she would be thrust into the middle of a drama she couldn't escape. It all started the moment she walked into Emma's birthday party. The house was packed, music blaring, people chatting and laughing. Sofia was used to these gatherings, even if they made her a little uneasy. She had always felt like an outsider in her own family, never quite measuring up to the expectations set by Emma and their parents. But that day, she was determined to just blend in, enjoy the evening, and not cause any ripples. But that was before the necklace. Sofia had barely stepped into the living room when her mother pulled her aside, her face filled with concern. "Sofia, have you seen Emma's necklace? The one she got from her boyfriend last week?" Sofia paused, confused. "No, why?" "It's gone," her mother said, her voice tinged with panic. "She's upset, and she's convinced it's been stolen. She's looking for it everywhere." Sofia's stomach dropped. She had no idea where it was or who might have taken it. But in that moment, a sinking feeling washed over her. She had always been the easy target. Quiet, introverted, and often ignored. Until something went wrong. And that's when people like Emma and her friends would look at her like she was the problem. The one who always seemed to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Minutes later, Emma stormed into the room, her eyes wild with frustration. "Has anyone seen my necklace?" she demanded, her voice rising. "I know someone took it. It's gone, and I'm not letting this go." Sofia froze, instinctively stepping back into the shadows, hoping she wouldn't be noticed. But that wasn't an option. Emma's eyes locked onto her. "Sofia, where's my necklace?" Emma's voice was sharp, accusatory. "I know you're the only one who hasn't been around here all night." Sofia felt her chest tighten. She opened her mouth to speak, but the words wouldn't come. She wasn't sure what was happening, but she knew this wasn't right. She hadn't taken anything. She was just here, trying to enjoy the evening. But as always, it seemed like Emma was determined to make her the culprit. "Are you seriously accusing me of stealing your necklace?" Sofia finally managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not accusing you," Emma snapped. I'm just saying you were the last one near the living room. And you know what, Sophia? It wouldn't surprise me. You've always had a way of disappearing when things go wrong. The words stung. Sophia had grown used to Emma's cutting remarks, the way she could twist anything to make Sophia feel small, unimportant. But this was different. Accusing her of theft in front of everyone, in front of their family and friends, it was more than she could bear. Enough, Emma, their mother said, stepping in. We'll figure this out. Sophia, you didn't take the necklace, did you? Sophia shook her head, feeling tears welling up in her eyes. No, I didn't take it. I don't know what happened to it, but I didn't touch it. Emma scoffed. Of course you didn't. You never do anything but hide in the background, don't you? You never take responsibility for anything. Sophia's heart raced as she tried to find the strength to speak up. But before she could say anything else, Emma stormed off, leaving Sophia standing there, feeling more isolated than ever. She was the scapegoat, the one who was always blamed, always pushed aside. She was used to it, but tonight it hurt more than usual. The party went on, but Sophia couldn't bring herself to enjoy it. She felt like everyone was watching her, whispering behind her back. The weight of the accusation hung over her like a cloud, suffocating her. She had always felt like she didn't belong, but now it seemed like even her family was turning on her. As the night wore on, Sophia retreated to the backyard, away from the noise, away from the tension. She needed space to think, to breathe, to figure out how to deal with this mess. But just as she was about to sit down, her phone buzzed. It was a text from her best friend, Claire. Hey, I heard about the necklace thing, Claire's message read. I don't know what happened, but I'm sure you didn't take it. Just hold on, okay? I'll figure this out. Sophia stared at the screen, her heart swelling with a sense of relief. Someone believed her, someone who knew her. She wasn't alone in this. The party raged on inside, but Sophia stood there in the cool air, feeling a sense of clarity she hadn't had all night. She wasn't going to let Emma's accusation define her. That was too much, Emma. I'm sorry, Emma said, the apology finally coming through. I shouldn't have done that. I was wrong. I'll make it right. I promise. For the first time in days, Sophia felt a glimmer of hope. The truth was coming out, piece by piece. She wasn't the one in the wrong, and Emma was finally starting to realize that. But the road ahead was still uncertain. Trust was broken, and it would take time to rebuild. But Sophia knew one thing for sure. She wasn't going to let herself be silenced anymore. She wasn't going to be the person everyone pushed aside and blamed. The truth had come out, and it was time to stand tall, no matter what. Betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes the people closest to you can wound you the deepest, but standing up for yourself, even in the face of accusations and doubt, is the only way to find peace. Never let anyone dictate who you are or what you're capable of. The truth always finds a way to rise. The days following her phone call with Emma were a mix of relief and tension. Sophia was cautiously optimistic that things were starting to clear up, but deep down, she knew that the damage had been done. Emma had apologized, but the lingering effects of her accusations still haunted Sophia. It wasn't just about the necklace. It was the betrayal, the assumption that she would be the one to take the blame. The way Emma had treated her, with such disregard for her integrity, left a scar Sophia wasn't sure could heal overnight. Sophia spent the next few days keeping her distance from Emma, not out of anger, but because she needed space. She couldn't forget the way Emma had accused her in front of their friends and family. It wasn't something you simply let go of. They had always had a complicated relationship, but this felt like a breach of trust that went beyond what she could easily forgive. It wasn't until the following Saturday that Emma reached out again. This time, it wasn't a text message. It was a call. Sofia hesitated for a moment before picking up. "Hey," Emma's voice came through, softer this time. "Can we talk?" Sofia took a deep breath. "I'm listening." "I want to make things right," Emma said. "I know I messed up, and I want to fix this. Can we meet? I think we need to talk in person." Sofia hesitated. She wasn't sure if she was ready for this conversation. She didn't know if she was ready to dive back into the chaos, the hurt, the old patterns that always seemed to resurface between them. But then she remembered something her mom had once said. If you want to move forward, sometimes you have to face the things that hurt the most. "Okay," Sofia finally said. "Let's meet." They agreed to meet at a quiet cafe in town, a neutral place away from their family, away from the tension that seemed to always cloud their interactions. When Sofia arrived, she saw Emma sitting at a corner table, her posture slumped as she stared at the menu in front of her. She looked nervous, her usual confidence replaced with something more vulnerable. Sofia sat down across from her, and for a few moments, neither of them spoke. The weight of the silence was palpable. Finally, Emma looked up at her, her eyes soft but filled with regret. "Sofia," she started, her voice shaking slightly. "I'm really sorry. I was wrong to accuse you like that. I let my anger take over, and I didn't think about how much it would hurt you. I I was so upset, and instead of trusting you, I jumped to conclusions." Sofia studied her sister for a moment. The apology felt genuine, but part of her still couldn't shake the anger. It wasn't just about the necklace. It was about the years of being overlooked, of being treated like she wasn't good enough, of being blamed for things that weren't her fault. This moment, this apology, was one piece of a much larger puzzle. "I get that you were upset, Emma," Sofia said, her voice calm but firm. "But accusing me like that, especially in front of everyone, that hurt. I've spent my whole life trying to be there for you, trying to prove I'm not the person you make me out to be, and then you accuse me of something like this? It just felt unfair." Emma's eyes glistened with tears, and she nodded, looking down at her hands. "I know, and I can't take that back. I didn't know how to handle my emotions, and I took it out on you. I'm sorry for not seeing you, for not realizing how much you've always been there for me." Sofia felt a pang of sympathy in her chest, but the wound was still fresh. "I've always been there for you, Emma, even when you didn't notice. But sometimes it feels like I'm invisible to you, like I'm just here to pick up the pieces when you mess up." Emma reached across the table, her hand trembling as she placed it on Sofia's. "You're not invisible, Sofia. I know I've made you feel that way, and I'm sorry. I don't want to keep hurting you. I want us to be better." The sincerity in Emma's words hit Sofia harder than she expected. She wasn't sure if everything could be fixed just like that, but maybe this was the beginning of something different. Maybe they could rebuild the trust that had been broken, piece by piece. Sofia let out a deep breath, the anger slowly starting to dissolve. "I don't know if everything can go back to the way it was, Emma, but I'm willing to try, for both of us." Emma smiled softly, and for the first time in a long time, Sofia felt like there was hope for their relationship. Maybe, just maybe, they could start over. They could move past the betrayal and rebuild something stronger. As they talked, the weight on Sophia's chest began to lift. She wasn't just forgiving Emma. She was learning to forgive herself too, for letting the hurt pile up for so long, for letting herself feel like she was the problem. The truth had come out, and now it was time for healing. And maybe, in the end, that was the real victory. Betrayal isn't always about the actions of others. It's often about how we choose to respond. We can let anger and resentment rule us, or we can choose to heal and move forward. True strength lies in choosing to face the hurt, to allow ourselves to feel the pain, and then to decide how we want to grow from it. Forgiveness, both of others and ourselves, is the key to unlocking that growth. Never let a betrayal define you. Let it teach you. The following weeks were a delicate balance for Sofia. The tension between her and Emma was far from gone, but there was an undeniable shift. Their conversations, though still somewhat awkward, were more open, and each time they spoke, Sofia could feel the heavy weight of distrust lifting just a little bit. Emma had been doing her best to show that she was genuinely sorry, and Sofia had to admit it was starting to make a difference. But the road to full reconciliation would take time, and Sofia knew that she needed to tread carefully. Even though the worst of the storm had passed, Sofia found herself haunted by the memories of that night. The feeling of being falsely accused, of being trapped in the silence of guilt that wasn't hers to bear. It wasn't just about the necklace anymore. It was about the years of feeling like she wasn't good enough, of always being in Emma's shadow, always being the one overlooked and blamed when things went wrong. But she couldn't let those old wounds control her. For the first time, she was starting to see that forgiveness wasn't just for the other person. It was for her. She had to let go of the anger, the resentment, if she wanted to move forward. It was a hard pill to swallow, but the more Sofia thought about it, the more she realized that holding on to that bitterness was only hurting her. One afternoon, Sofia sat at her kitchen table, staring at the open window. The sun was setting, casting a warm, golden light across the room. Her phone buzzed, pulling her out of her thoughts. It was a message from Emma. "I know things have been difficult, but I just want you to know I'm really trying. I miss having you around. Can we hang out this weekend? Just the two of us." Sofia hesitated. The invitation wasn't unexpected. Emma had been making an effort lately to mend their bond, but it still felt like a big step. After everything that had happened, was she ready to take that step? Part of her wanted to say yes, to move past the awkwardness and embrace the possibility of a real relationship with her sister. But another part of her still held back, still unsure if she could fully trust again. She stared at the message for a few moments longer before typing her reply. "I'd like that. Let's do it. Saturday afternoon?" The moment she hit send, she felt a mixture of nervousness and relief. This was the first time in a long while that she had felt like she was giving Emma a chance, really giving her a chance to show that she could be the sister Sofia had always needed. Saturday came quickly, and Sofia found herself driving to the cafe where they had agreed to meet. As she stepped inside, she spotted Emma already sitting at a table, her usual smile waiting for Sofia. But this time, it was different. There was a softness in Emma's eyes, a warmth that Sofia hadn't seen in a long time. It wasn't the same confident, dominating energy Emma had always radiated. It was more genuine, more vulnerable. Sofia smiled, walking over to the table. "Hey," she said softly, pulling out the chair across from Emma. Hey, Emma replied, her voice warm. I'm really glad you came. They both sat in silence for a moment, unsure of how to break the tension. But this time, it felt different. It wasn't the uncomfortable silence of avoidance. It was more like a quiet moment of reflection. After a beat, Emma spoke. I know I messed up. I know I can't take back what I said, but I want to make things better. I miss having you in my life, Sophia. I know we've had our issues, but I'm trying to be a better sister to you. I don't want to keep making the same mistakes. Sophia felt a lump form in her throat. She hadn't expected this kind of vulnerability from Emma, and for a moment, it took her by surprise. I miss you too, Emma, she said, her voice catching. But it's hard. You've hurt me, and it's going to take time for me to fully trust again. I understand, Emma replied, her eyes full of regret. I really do. But I'm willing to wait. I'm not going anywhere. For the first time in a long while, Sophia felt like the two of them were on the same page. Emma wasn't just trying to fix things for the sake of appearances. She was showing that she was ready to put in the work to be a better sister to Sophia. And Sophia, in turn, was ready to try again. I think we both need time, Sophia said slowly, but I'm willing to take it. We'll get there, I'm sure. Emma smiled, relief washing over her face. Thank you, Sophia. That means a lot. As they spent the rest of the afternoon talking and laughing, Sophia realized that forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It meant moving forward. She wasn't going to erase the past, but she was ready to build something new. Sometimes the hardest thing is not holding on to the past, but letting it go. Forgiveness doesn't mean that the other person is automatically absolved of their wrongs. It means that you've chosen to stop letting their actions control your peace. True healing happens when you accept that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. It means taking the lessons, the pain, and the strength from the past and creating a new path. The only way to truly heal is to let go of what holds you back. The weeks after their cafe meeting felt like the beginning of a new chapter for Sophia and Emma. While their relationship wasn't perfect, it had been improving, slowly but surely. They spent more time together, small moments that helped rebuild the bond they had once shared. It wasn't always easy. Old patterns didn't disappear overnight, and there were still moments of tension. But Sophia could feel the difference. There was genuine effort on both sides. For the first time in years, Emma wasn't just the sister who overshadowed her. She was trying to listen, trying to understand Sophia's feelings. One Sunday afternoon, after a quiet lunch, they were sitting on the porch of their parents' house, sipping iced tea. The air was warm, but there was a cool breeze that made it bearable. Sophia looked out at the yard, reflecting on how much had changed over the past few months. She wasn't the same person she had been when Emma had accused her of stealing the necklace. She had found a strength in herself she didn't know existed. But there was still more healing to do, and she wasn't sure how to bridge the gap that remained between her and Emma. Do you think we'll ever go back to being close like we used to be? Sophia asked quietly, her gaze focused on the horizon. Emma turned to her, her expression serious. I think we can be, but it's going to take time, Soph. I know I've hurt you, and I'll always regret that, but I want to prove to you that I can be the sister you deserve, not the one I've been in the past. Sophia nodded slowly. She knew Emma was sincere in that moment. The apology had been hard for Emma to make, but she had done it. And Sophia had chosen to forgive, to take the first step toward rebuilding their relationship. But there was still so much left unsaid. I know you're trying, Sofia said, and I appreciate that. But sometimes I feel like I'm still the one who has to make the effort. I know it's not always easy for you, but it's been hard for me too. I don't want to be the one constantly forgiving and forgetting. I need to feel like I'm being seen for who I am, not just as the one who gets blamed when things go wrong. Emma's eyes softened and she reached across the table to take Sofia's hand. I get that. I really do. And I'm sorry. I've been selfish, thinking that I could just fix things by saying sorry and moving on. But I realize now that actions speak louder than words. I need to show you that I'm here, that I'm not going to let you be the one who always has to make things right. The sincerity in Emma's voice made Sofia's heart ache. She wasn't sure if they could ever go back to being what they once were, but she was beginning to see that there was potential for something new, something stronger. They weren't the same people they had been in the past, but maybe that was okay. You don't have to be perfect, Emma, Sofia said softly. I don't need you to change overnight. I just need you to show up, to listen, to be there for me, like I've tried to be for you. Emma squeezed her hand tightly. I can do that. I promise. For a moment, they sat in silence, the weight of the conversation hanging in the air. But it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like a step forward, slow but meaningful. Sofia realized that it wasn't about rushing to fix everything all at once. It was about the little moments of progress, the gestures that showed they were both willing to grow, even if it took time. The rest of the afternoon passed in a comfortable silence, and for the first time in a long while, Sofia didn't feel like she was constantly fighting to be seen. Emma was finally acknowledging her, and for Sofia, that was enough for now. As they got up to head inside, Emma turned to her with a smile. Hey, I'm really proud of us. We've come a long way. Sofia smiled back, her heart lighter than it had been in ages. Yeah, we have, and I think we're just getting started. The lesson here is that healing takes time, and true reconciliation doesn't happen overnight. It's built on honesty, effort, and the willingness to grow. You can't change the past, but you can control how you move forward. Never underestimate the power of showing up for someone, even if it's not easy. Sometimes the smallest gestures can create the biggest changes in a relationship. As the months passed, Sofia and Emma's relationship continued to evolve. The trust that had been broken was being carefully rebuilt, one conversation, one gesture at a time. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. They spent more weekends together, sometimes just chatting over coffee, other times doing things they hadn't done in years, walking through the park, binge-watching old movies, or even cooking meals together. It was these simple moments that began to heal the wounds that had been left behind by Emma's accusations. Sofia had been surprised by how much she enjoyed these moments, how much she found herself looking forward to them. The bond that had been strained for so long was starting to feel familiar again. Emma was no longer just her older sister. She was becoming someone Sofia could rely on again. Slowly but surely, Emma was proving herself, and Sofia was starting to open her heart to the possibility that this relationship could be something different. But even in the midst of this healing, Sofia found herself wondering if things could ever truly go back to normal. Could she ever fully trust Emma again? Would they always have this shadow of the past hanging over them? One evening, after a quiet dinner together, Emma seemed a little distant. She was scrolling through her phone, a frown on her face. Sofia noticed immediately. Emma wasn't usually the type to let anything bother her, especially when they were spending time together. What's wrong? Sofia asked, her voice gentle. Emma sighed and looked up. I've been thinking a lot about us lately, about everything that happened, the necklace, the way I treated you. Her voice faltered for a moment. I know I hurt you, Sophia, and I still don't know how to make it up to you, but I don't want to keep pretending like everything's okay if it's not. Sophia's heart twisted. She had been so focused on healing, on moving forward, that she hadn't stopped to really process how much Emma was still grappling with the damage she had caused. For the first time, Sophia realized that this wasn't just about her healing. It was about Emma's redemption, too. She couldn't keep carrying the weight of Emma's mistakes. It wasn't just on her to forgive and forget. Emma needed to do the work, too. I've been thinking about that, too, Sophia said quietly. And honestly, I'm not sure we'll ever go back to the way things were. But I've also realized that holding on to the past doesn't help either of us. We've both made mistakes, and I've spent so long wondering if I should forgive you. But the truth is, I don't know if I can forget everything. It's going to take time. Emma nodded, looking down at her phone for a moment before placing it on the table. She met Sophia's eyes with sincerity. I get that. I don't expect you to just forgive me overnight. I've let you down, and I need to earn your trust. But I'm here, and I'm trying. I just want you to know that I'm sorry for everything. Sophia felt a lump in her throat. It wasn't easy to hear Emma's words, to see her so vulnerable and regretful. But it was exactly what Sophia needed to hear. It was a sign that Emma wasn't taking their relationship for granted anymore. She wasn't just apologizing for the sake of it. She was showing that she wanted to rebuild what they had lost. I know you're trying, Sophia replied, her voice filled with emotion. I just need you to keep showing up, Emma. Don't just tell me you're sorry, show me. I need to see that you really mean it, that you really want to change. I will, Emma said, her voice firm. I promise. As the evening drew to a close, Sophia realized that this conversation, this moment, was a turning point. They weren't just talking about the past anymore. They were discussing how they could move forward, how they could create something new from the wreckage. The journey wasn't over, but they were finally walking it together, side by side. The lesson here is that true healing requires effort from both sides. Rebuilding trust is a gradual process, and it takes honesty, vulnerability, and patience. Sometimes the hardest part isn't forgiving the other person. It's learning to forgive yourself and letting go of the pain. Change takes time, but with consistency and effort, relationships can be rebuilt stronger than before. The months following that night were the hardest but most rewarding for Sophia and Emma. The road to reconciliation was far from smooth, but both sisters had worked tirelessly to rebuild their bond. There were still bumps along the way, awkward silences, misunderstandings, and moments of doubt, but the growth they both experienced was undeniable. Emma had started to take full responsibility for her actions, showing up in ways Sophia hadn't thought possible. It wasn't perfection, but it was progress. And for Sophia, that was enough. It wasn't just about mending their relationship anymore. It was about Sophia finding her voice again, finding the courage to stand up for herself, to no longer let the past define her. As she learned to forgive Emma, she also learned to forgive herself, something she hadn't realized was missing until it was right in front of her. One evening, after spending the day together, they found themselves sitting in their parents' living room, just the two of them. The house was quiet, the soft hum of the evening filling the space as they drank tea. Emma broke the silence first. Sophia, she said, her voice hesitant. I've been thinking. You've been amazing through all of this. I've asked a lot of you, and I've never really said how much I appreciate it. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm grateful for it. Sophia set her cup down, her gaze steady. I forgave you, Emma. Not because you deserved it, but because I needed to. It wasn't just about us anymore. It was about me finding peace. I was holding on to so much anger, and it was making me miserable. Emma's face softened, and she nodded slowly. I understand that now. I know I hurt you, and it will always weigh on me. But I promise, I won't take you for granted again. Sophia smiled faintly. I think we've both learned a lot from this. We've been through the worst, but we've come out stronger. Emma smiled back, her eyes filled with emotion. We have. The conversation shifted, lighter now, and for the first time in what felt like forever, Sophia didn't feel like she was carrying the weight of their past on her shoulders. She realized that Emma wasn't just her sister. She was her family, the one person who had always been there, even when they didn't know how to be there for each other. Later that evening, as Sophia prepared to leave, Emma hugged her tightly. I'm really proud of us, she said, her voice muffled against Sophia's shoulder. We're getting there. Sophia pulled back, looking into her sister's eyes. We are, and I think we'll keep getting there. As Sophia stepped out of the house, she took a deep breath, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't felt in years. The past hadn't been easy, but it had shaped her into the person she was today. The accusations, the hurt, and the tension. They were all behind her. She had rebuilt her relationship with Emma, but more importantly, she had rebuilt herself. She was stronger, wiser, and ready for whatever came next. The lesson here is that healing and forgiveness are processes, not destinations. Sometimes the hardest part of mending a relationship is allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to let go of the hurt and move forward. Forgiveness isn't just for the person who wronged you, it's for your own peace of mind. Trust, once broken, can take time to rebuild, but with patience, effort, and honesty, relationships can become even stronger than before. Never underestimate the power of taking the first step toward healing. If you found Sophia's journey inspiring, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated with more emotional, dramatic, and powerful stories. You won't believe what happens next in our next video. Stay tuned for more shocking twists and heartfelt moments.